Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the drugs you may see. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and load me a large syringe for continuous infusion. Let's do a BD 50. Remember that our syringes are the BD and monoject syringes for parenteral infusions. And then for enteral infusions, we have Neomed, Baxter, and BD syringes. Okay. We're going to go ahead and start setting this up for a weight-based continuous infusion. Want to point out a little bit of a change. You'll see monoject, when we go to load it, we no longer have to select the flange type. That's because monoject doesn't have different flange types, and it's not important for us to do that anymore. Another thing you're going to see is all syringes. What all syringes does is it gives the user the ability to select from the entire syringe list if the syringe they see is not available. For instance, currently, our pump only is configured for BD and monoject here in North America. But in other regions, and then maybe later on down the line, there may be a need to add other syringes to this list. If that were the case, all those other syringes would be here under all syringes. Also, if the care area has decided to only list one type of syringe, but for some reason, say the hospital decided they got a better price on monoject, or they got there was some sort of a shortage of the BD syringes, then the user could find monoject under all syringes without having to redo the drug library for that temporary situation. So I'm going to go down and select my BD syringe and say OK. Now, I know we've talked in the past about using the incorrect brand or size can cause problems with accuracy. What we have now added to the syringe pump is a notification for the user to understand that, because we want to make sure that the user matches the syringe brand and size that the pump thinks is loaded to what is actually loaded. So it asks me, is this the correct brand and size? And it reminds me that the incorrect brand or size may lead to harm, and that's due to accuracy. So I could say, yes, this is the right syringe brand and size. I could say no, and it would take me back to that syringe list. Or I could say all syringes, and all the syringes would come up for me. Okay? But it is a BD. I'm going to say yes. And then the prompt to prime comes up. So common practice in all care areas is that users will attach their set to the end of their syringe prior to loading and manually prime. Remember, there's typically not overfill in the syringe. So they're going to prime to the end, and they're going to be careful not to over prime. Like on the LVP, they flow extra fluid into a garbage can or some other receptor, but not here. They will save as much as they can. But it's important that we remove the mechanical slack once we've loaded the syringe onto the pump. And we do that by priming with the pump, because that reduces the delay in the infusion. So as you can see, we changed the wording here so that the user understands why it's important to prime with the pump. And then we added another little warning that says not priming with the pump may result in delays of infusion. So I'm going to say yes, I do want to prime with the pump because I'm going to hang a critical med. I need to confirm that the patient is not connected. Hit that confirm button, and then I would press and hold that prime button. Remember, if I've already primed manually, it takes a very short amount of time to get a drop of fluid come out of my syringe, rather the end of the tubing, and so then I'm good to go. Gonna hit complete, and I'll be finished. But just as a reminder, you can prime up to 5 times, and each duration of the priming segment is 10 seconds. Now press complete. And then I'm going to select my drug. Now, in the NICU care area, a typical drug is dopamine or dobutamine. So I would recommend that if you're using your pump, a demo pump, that you select that drug for demonstration. If you're using your drug from the facility, then you would want to make sure that you use some sort of drug that applies that is a weight-based continuous infusion. So I'm going to select dopamine. I'm going to select my concentration. Going to confirm, enter my weight. NICU typically has a double weight confirmation, so I have to re-enter my weight. I'm going to enter my dose. And what you'll see is the dose that gets calculated is 0.47 mLs per hour, and it is below the recommended flow rate, recommended minimum flow rate for this syringe. So this is that messaging that I told you we added. It tells the user that the current rate is below the recommended minimum flow rate of 0.5 mLs per hour for this syringe. It reminds the user that potential risk of flow interruptions and harm can occur. And then it allows the user to continue at 0.47 mLs per hour or change to a smaller syringe. So the reason that we've given the user this option is because sometimes you're not that far off. For instance, we're not too far from 0.5 here. As a matter of fact, if we round it up, we would be at 0.5 mLs per hour. So, I may want to go ahead and keep this with this syringe. I don't want to break into my line. I don't want to reduce my syringe size. Also, maybe because my patient is on a monitor and being closely watched, I trust that I'm okay with this rate. On the other hand, maybe I do want to change to a smaller syringe size. And if that is the case, I would say no. Your only option at that point is to either change the dose to increase the rate or change to a different syringe. So what I'm going to do is confirm that I want to deliver at this rate, and I'm willing to take on that risk because I have other mitigations like the monitor and being right here at the bedside at my disposal. Okay, so then what you'll see here, of course, is everything that you programmed appears, and I can start my infusion. Okay, so that's programming a weight-based continuous infusion. Okay, so while we're on this screen, I want to make sure that I point out the downstream occlusion pressure graph, which is right here on the screen. As you know, if you've played with the pump at all, it can appear on the screen or it can be removed from the screen in the info settings when you are setting up your pump. But the important thing to note is that this is a very important feature to the neonatal intensive care unit. And they will typically set their downstream pressure limit to low or even very low because they want to make sure that they catch an occlusion very quickly, even if the occlusion is some sort of problem with the IV site. Now remember that this is not an infiltration detection device, and no syringe pumps are, no matter what the manufacturer says. But NICU clinicians like to make sure that everything is set to low, so if there's an occlusion down the line, they can get to it faster. Remember, the rates are low, and they want to make sure that the patient doesn't go without their medication if there is a true occlusion. Another feature that we have on the Novum IQ syringe pump is the rapid occlusion detection. Remember that rapid occlusion works when the rate is less than 30% of the syringe, potential syringe volume. So on a 60 ml syringe, any rate that is below 20 mLs per hour would be a good time for the user to set the rapid occlusion detection, because it will identify an occlusion faster than when it is not set. So just a reminder as to how that is set. If you go to Info Settings, with select Alarm Settings, select DS or Downstream Pressure Limit, and then make sure that Rapid DSO is turned over so that it's green. If I wanted to remove it, I would hit Rapid DSO and I could turn it to off. Okay, when I go to this spot, it is not on the screen, I would go ahead and select Rapid DSO and then just turn it to on. Press OK to save. And then I can scroll up and down and change my pressure setting. Remember that the default, which is set in DoseIQ for this care area, has an asterisk. So if I don't remember where I've been or where I'm going to, it's there for me. I'm going to go ahead and keep that. Remember, I have to press OK to save, and then I can hit the back